Hey guys, in this video I am super excited and yet at the same time super sad. I'll tell you why I'm excited, because behind that door is our brand new cheap Jeep and we're going to introduce it in this video. But before we get to that, it's time to say goodbye to our old TJ. And this TJ has been like a family dog, really. Welcome to this epic TFL Cheap Jeep 150K challenge. Whoa! Go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward.
So we've created a whole video series. Check out our Cheap Jeep playlist on TFL Car. And we've done a whole bunch of really fun things with this little Jeep Wrangler TJ SE, but now it's time to pass it on.
And we're passing it on as a thank you to you guys for watching this series by donating half of the proceeds from the sale of this to a very worthy charity. Tommy, why don't you tell them about that charity before we tell them how you can buy this Jeep?
Yeah, so the charity is called Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. They are a non-profit organization and they do something really cool here in the Colorado Rocky Mountain region. If you get stuck or have a problem, they have a 24-hour hotline and they'll come out and rescue you free of charge. It's a group of dedicated members. So it's a really neat organization, right up our alley in terms of off-roading. They do a big service to our 4x4 community here, so thank you to those guys.
And these guys are completely volunteers, so they're people like you and me who go out at all hours of the day and night on the weekends and go rescue stuck off-roaders. And I think that's cool, so that's why we're donating half the proceeds of the sale of this TJ to those guys. Now, if you want this TJ, we've gotten a bunch of emails from people who are interested in buying it. Then you can click on the link below. It's on Bring a Trailer. We've partnered with our friends at Bring a Trailer. And the cool thing is the auction's going to take place over a week, and we're going to broadcast the end of the auction live on our live show on TFL Now. So if you're interested in this TJ, click on the link below. There is no reserve. That's right, no reserve. So you can bid away. And it's also a thank you to our partners who helped us off-road this, actually make it a little bit more off-road worthy. And so we didn't want to make it seem like we were making money on donated parts and bids. So let's have a thank you to them. Tommy, why don't you show the sponsors and show what they donated?
Yep, so the auction will end Friday, March 8th over at bringatrailer.com. I'll post a link in the description below if you want to check out the auction and maybe throw a bid in or two, because this is a really good Jeep. So it's an 02 Wrangler, 4-cylinder, but it's got a bunch of things that make it really, really good. So it's a California Jeep. It was sold new in California, and it remained there its entire life until we drove it to Colorado, according to the Carfax, but it's got really zero rust. So the tub is just immaculate. There is really no body damage whatsoever. The paint shines up really well, even in these studio lights. You can see it reflects. And we did a couple things to this little Jeep. So first of all, we painted the fender flares and the side step and the bumpers. Now granted, it's not a professional paint job, so it certainly is a little bit rough around the edges, but at least they look better and they're not all gray and faded. And then of course, our friends over at TerraFlex sent us a 2-inch lift kit, not just a spacer lift, but a real shock and spring lift. So I'll show you in the front here. You can see our brand new coil springs and our brand new shock absorbers. Thanks, Dad. There you go, some light on them. But you can see just by that shot, bring it back, that light, how clean the underside is. I mean, there really is very little to no rust at all on this Jeep. Now, the previous owner did put a set of Rubicon wheels on it. So it's got the Moab style Rubicon wheels. I think they're 16 inches. And then our friends over at BFG sent us these KO2 all-terrain tires. They're a little bit bigger than stock, so they're 245/75 R16, but of course, you know, they're brand new minus one trip to Moab for the finale video. And it's got a really good stance, this Jeep. So all 5 tires, including the spare, are BFG KO2s with the same wheel.
I know it's not the 4-liter, Tommy, but look how clean that engine compartment is. It's never failed to start.
Sorry, hang on. I have to zoom in.
Zoom in, show them the engine. It's super clean.
It's that little thing right there.
Yeah. Here, hold on. And that's cool, of course. Let's put a light on it.
Yeah, so just a little 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, but it does have great air conditioning and good heat. So it is an air-conditioned equipped Jeep, but it runs like an absolute top. I mean, it just puts along.
Yeah, it's not the most powerful Jeep. So if you guys are looking for something that you're gonna upgrade even more, this is not the one for you. This is about as big of a tire as you want because the engine just doesn't have the oomph. But if you're looking for a great starter Jeep, something that gets okay fuel economy numbers, then this could be the Jeep for you. Let's show them the inside, Tommy.
All right, check it out. There is the interior of our cheap Jeep. So it's a tan interior with cloth seats, and it's in pretty good condition. The dashboard is really nice. There are really no cracks on the dashboard whatsoever, and then a good steering wheel with cruise control, and of course 2 airbags. The seats do have some stains in them. We haven't tried removing them, but they're the original seats, and you can see over here there are some tears in the bolster here of the driver's side seats, but overall, the interior is very usable. It does have an aftermarket head unit in it, which is pretty standard for this era. But sound bar up top, so we got good radio. It does have a USB port, and then of course, like we talked about, heat and air conditioning. But in the back, there you go. It's got a trunk, and of course your rear bench seat with the full padded roll bar. That's all good to go. And let's talk about this hardtop really quick. I don't think this Jeep would have originally had the hardtop, but it's on here now and it's good to go. The one thing that isn't good to go is the rear wiper. So it's there, but there's no switch for it on the inside.
And we're not selling it with the recovery gear. That's not part of the plan.
Well, if someone wants a Harbor Freight
No,
line.
we're not selling it with, but we are selling it with this Harbor Freight, which is.
Yes, our little D-ring on the hitch.
Yeah, we're doing the D-ring, and unfortunately this tire cover belongs to TFL as well, so that's not part of it. But you do get a really good little Jeep now. Dude, I need to pull it out of here and pull the new cheap Jeep in to show them. I've got the keys right here. This is the new one. Tommy, can you believe that we managed to find a clean Jeep Comanche? Because these are rare as hen's teeth, and having one that is completely original, that has not been lifted, that has not been, well, modified in any way, and that is not rusty, was not an easy task to accomplish. And Tom, you actually found this Jeep, so why don't you tell them about why I'm so excited about having a Comanche?
Yeah, so this was a car I found one day actually at a dealership on Craigslist. So it's a little dealer out way in northern Colorado that did trucks, and I just happened to stumble upon it one day. But it's a 1989 Jeep Comanche, and it's a 4-wheel drive short bed truck.
Yeah, what makes this so unique is that they built, well, a lot more Cherokees than they did Comanches. They built a lot more XJs, and the Comanche is basically a Cherokee with a bed added to it. Why don't you tell them about the chassis and how that works, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, okay, so from the front, it's pretty much a straight Cherokee. So, you still have, in this case, the 8-slot grille and the square headlights. That's all very familiar. That's all pretty much the same. It's got a 4-liter straight 6 mounted like that. From here on, that's pretty much the same. And then it gets real different when you get in the back. So, of course, a Cherokee is a little SUV, but the Comanche is a pickup truck. But it's not that simple, because a Cherokee XJ is actually a unibody vehicle. But that, of course, is not ideal for a truck, because trucks, they have to tow a lot, they have to carry a lot, and the unibody construction isn't ideal. So what Jeep did is something they call a uniframe. So from here on, essentially, it's a unibody just like a Cherokee, but from here back, the bed, there's a frame. So it's called a uniframe system, so it's half unibody, half frame.
Yeah, and what makes this one such a really cool and unique truck is that it has almost all the things that you want in a Comanche. First, it's clean and rust-free and original, so that is good. Number 2 is what's under the hood, so let's show them that. Let me open that up. You, of course, want the legendary, and I do mean legendary, Jeep 4-liter straight six. It doesn't quite have the high output one, but that's okay because this has plenty of power. Back in the day, this competed against trucks like the Ranger, and it had a lot more power because they put this 4-liter under the hood. And believe me, this is plenty of power. There's a high output one, but it's basically the same engine except that this low output one, I guess that's what you call it, the original one, has a little less horsepower than the high output one. Look how clean that is. Show them that. Let me get the light on it. Yeah, so you combine Jeep and truck, and what you end up is not a lot of these left because people treated them like Jeeps and they treated them like trucks, which means that they were rough. They were run rough and hard and put away very wet. So finding a clean one like this was, well, incredible. So I said it had most of the things you want. So it has a 4-liter, it has the short box, which is what they called it at the time. There's a much longer box. This has the 5.5 foot box.
6.5.
No, 5.5?
6.5, 7.5.
6.5, 7.5, sorry. So this has a short box, which is great because we want to keep it as an off-roader. The long box just has too much of an overhang. But the one thing we didn't get is right here. Let me show you.
So there were 2 manual transmissions during the life of a Comanche. Well, there were a few more, but 2 main ones. There was something called a BA10, which are the early transmissions, and then an AX15, which are the later. Now, the BA10 is actually built by Peugeot, and it's kind of a Swiss cheese of a transmission. So this is not a brilliant gearbox, and it's certainly a little bit crunchy in some gears.
Yeah, we've got crunchiness in 3rd gear and in 4th gear, and actually this truck has, what, about 117,000 miles, Tommy?
No, 107.
107,000 miles, which is amazing that this transmission is still working. So the first thing we're going to have to get fixed is, of course, the transmission. And what a lot of people did was they did a transmission swap. So they went from the BA10, which is a Peugeot unit, to the AX15.
Which is an Aisin transmission.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have those kinds of funds. So the first thing we're going to have to do with this is fix the transmission, and hopefully we can actually get parts for it. Why don't you show them the storage space?
Yeah, so the seat is just immaculate. It's basically brand new. Nope, there you go. There you go. So someone put a gun rack in it. That's one of the few things that is not factory. But it's, got the original jack and some of the spare or the tools needed to change a tire, but it's really clean on the inside. So you can see that this is a 4-wheel drive Comanche, 2 high, 4 high, neutral, 4 low, with air conditioning and heat, and someone put an aftermarket radio, which is kind of bad, but it's got the gauge package, so it's got the full gauges, and the steering wheel's in good shape. It's just a really clean Jeep on the inside. All the door cards are in really good condition. Roll down manual windows, of course.
We're super psyched to have this as our next project, Cheap Jeep, and what we want to know from you guys is, what should we do with it? And of course, keep in mind that this is a completely original and relatively unmodified Comanche, and they're very rare. So if your idea is to raise it and put 35s on it, I'm gonna go no on that right now because it's just too original and too cool to do a lot of serious modding. So anything is on the table except, of course, turning it into some, crazy, specifically built Moab monster. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep the charm. We want to keep the fun. We want to keep it as original as possible, but obviously we have to do something with it as part of the Cheap Jeep series. So one of the reasons that we went with the Comanche, of course, was the Jeep has a new Gladiator coming out. So we thought it'd be fun to compare the Gladiator's grandfather. Is that fair, Tommy?
Probably father.
And of course we want to take it to Moab for the Easter Jeep Safari. So we don't have a lot of time to start doing things. So let us know in the comments below what you would like us to do with it for the next Cheap Jeep series, because right now the world is pretty much wide open. And Tommy, what's the underneath like? Let's show them that.
It's completely clean. This one also has the factory skid plate up front, but you can see there's not a lick of rust on her. It does need tires. The tires are real bad. They're probably not that new if they say belted radial in huge letters on the side, but original wheels, which are really cool, and we can probably freshen these up a little bit. I think they're just, ooh, yeah, look at that. They are exceptionally dirty right now.
The only rust I can find on the entire truck is right there, which, that's not a lot of rust on a truck.
No, not a lot of rust on the truck. And of course the paint is a little bit, here and there. It certainly has seen a couple couple scuffs in its years, but overall, especially for Comanche, it's in really, really good shape. It's a good name, Comanche.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd called the Gladiator something else. And guys, if you're interested in the original cheap Jeep, the TJ, click on the link below and bid. Half the money's going to a good cause. And let us know in the comments below what we should do with our new cheap Jeep project. I am so excited, Tommy. I can't tell you how much fun that is to drive. Maybe the first video we'll do is just take it for a ride and show them what makes it cool and show them how bad the gears crunch.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. Check out TFLcar.com for more news, views, and of course, Jeep Comanche project reviews. See you guys next time. Ciao.
We didn't tell them how much we paid for it.
Oh, how much do we pay for it, Tommy?
$6,500.
Whoa, that's a lot for a cheap Jeep.
Yeah, well, it's the same price as the old cheap Jeep, but this one's got a lot more problems.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of our budget, so every cheap Jeep has to be cheap, and at $6,500, this one's cheap.
Pretty cheap.